Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
I assume Tom.
This weekend, April 29th at the Hollywood Improv, and then later, I believe, on May 3rd in downtown LA, this man will be performing for Netflix as a Joke Festival all throughout Southern California. He's a Chaldean-Assyrian, just like myself. I even got the black and white version of the flag behind me. He's beautiful, he's funny, he's smart, but he is a little dumb, and I'll explain to him why in a minute. Paul Elia, how are you today?
Wow. Well, it's actually Aliyah.
Elia.
So,
right.
Yo, we both dumb.
Listen, there's another guy with a similar last name to you that got in trouble, so we're changing the pronunciation just to keep you out of his situation.
Oh, hilarious. Who are we talking about? Johnny Depp?
It has a D in front of the Aliyah.
Hilarious.
Yeah. No, but I'm going to tell you why you're a little dumb, Paul. All right.
I'm here for it.
Because you're gorgeous, first of all 5 feet 6 inches of you. And, a lot of comedians of the opposite gender will marry 3.5s and 4s that are financially secure, that will fund their comedy when they're not funny. You're funny and you're pretty. Can't you find another 3.5 and a 4 to fund your endeavors?
You know what? I've tried. Unfortunately, she died of old age. But I have a girlfriend right now. She's Venezuelan, beautiful girl. She's a dentist. So she's beautiful, and she's definitely funding my teeth.
It was going to be one or the other, right?
Basically, yeah, man.
Listen, let's get this out of the way ahead of time. You're an artist, you're Middle Eastern, you're a stand-up comic. That only means that either your older brother is a doctor or a lawyer, and you got away with everything.
They're both, one's a doctor and the other's a lawyer.
See?
And then my other brother's a mortgage banker, yeah.
And they just give up on you, and they're like, well, we got 3 out of 4, might as well.
Well, I mean, once I started, I think it's interesting, because this question gets asked often, different variations of this. And from our background, just Middle Eastern, I think just immigrant parent backgrounds, and maybe in some American culture too, but it's really the job that makes the most money. And if it's not making money, it just doesn't make sense. And it's just very business heavy. And then once I started making a living and then touring the world and performing in shows, and my parents' friends are calling them like, hey, I just saw Paul on TV and whatnot, then they started to get what was happening. But even then, it's always like either you're George Clooney or you're homeless. Those are really the two standards.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And then basically with my brother, it's like George Clooney or homeless. It's like either you're a neurosurgeon or you're a family doctor.
Right. No, it makes perfect sense. Like, I have 2 Persian friends. One of them went to MIT, and now he's a film director because he finished his master's in engineering. And so that was kind of like his roundabout way. The other one is an actual medical doctor that went and decided to make films. So either one of them can go back to stable careers, but they're always introduced as either the engineer or the doctor, never as the filmmaker.
That's interesting. Yeah. Even though they're making films, doing dope shit. I guess it depends on the certain level, because people will, I feel like in American families, they'll just be like, oh, my son is a film director. And they always overhype. They're like, oh, wow, he's making this film. It's going to change culture. It's very impactful. You can see it on Pornhub. And it's like, oh, great.
Right. Yeah. He's been a genius since the 8th grade, working with his iPhone, making these films, not the Pornhub films, the other ones, but
Exactly.
Whereas with us, it's like, oh, I failed the math test. What do you get? 93.
Yeah, exactly. The standard, the margin of error is very low, but I just, and a lot of comedy and just going up and doing well in this career path is a response to all that. It's I struggled for a long time. I've done I was doing open mics like every day. I was doing 3 or 4 open mics a night. Sometimes I would pay money to do comedy. I would pay $5 so I can go to a bar and perform for 3 people who aren't paying attention. And I've done so many of those things early on in my career. And then it was hard to do that while watching my brothers graduate school, get married, start their careers, make a lot of money. But in my mind, I already knew where I was going to go. Like, I already knew the end result. I was like, I already know that I can contribute to this business creatively and share my background and represent myself and my people. So I just always had that in mind. So I was never really affected by it. I mean, sometimes it will affect you and it'll bother you. And there's definitely days and weeks where you'll feel that, but then you just remember why you're doing it. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a bigger purpose here.
Right. Like I went into journalism and my father yelled at me. He said, "What are you, stupid?" He said, "You're not an Arab, you're not an Israeli, but you're from the Middle East. Where do you think they're going to send you if you cover politics?" Yeah. He's like, "Go be an engineer, go be something of value to society." And then, of course, what do? I get to talk to comics and watch cartoons all day.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So, the pride of the family at that point.
So basically your parents basically felt that you doing journalism was not benefiting society.
Right, because I would be at risk to be a target. See, like I made fun of you for being short because the majority of our people are short. I don't know how tall you really are, right? But my mom's from Lebanon and I'm 6'3". So like I'm cannon fodder. Like they're gonna see me before they see everybody else.
Hilarious. Yeah, you're also 6'3", just making fun of everyone that's short.
That too, but
I'm 5'8.5".
Yeah, but you still have all your hair, so like you won.
Oh man, I won, man. I like to thank our hair sponsors.
Yeah. And you got to work with Conan O'Brien. You've been on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You've done all sorts of other stuff out there. So you're doing something right at this point, and your dreams are coming to fruition.
God is good. I've been very blessed to work with some really dope people, and continuing to work with, and just expand my palette and work with even more people.
Right. It's hard for me to believe that you're Iraqi because you're so calm and you're so nice. Yeah.
Why? What? Iraqis aren't calm and nice?
Even when you guys are calm, you're still like on edge.
Hilarious.
Like even on edge. And like I remember when Maz Jobrani was playing an Iraqi on the show Superior Donut. I said even after 3 seasons, he's still too polite to be Iraqi.
I think Iraqis just have no time. We ain't got time to bullshit.
No.
We're just like, yo, man, we have very, very little patience.
Yeah. Like the Assyrians from Iran were a lot more calmer than you guys. And then you guys get mad at us for being too calm.
Yeah, basically.
Like, what are you so relaxed for? Do something. And we're like, we are. But no. I joked with you, I think, via email. I was like, give our moms 20 minutes. We'll find out how we're related to each other through marriage and be like 7th cousins. Which 8 out of 10 times that actually does happen. Like figure out how we're related to each other. So I'll put your mom in contact with mine and we'll figure out how we're related through marriage or something.
Oh yeah. Well, my mom only uses Viber. She doesn't use WhatsApp. She's like, I think Viber is the official sponsor of the Assyrian community.
Yeah. It's how she can get a hold of your aunt in Iraq that's still there that didn't want to leave.
It's so hilarious. Like every time my mom talks to my aunt, it's always the same conversation in a loop. Mm-hmm. She goes, Mama no, hello. And then it's just that for 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And they're both saying hello. And then they eventually hang up.
Not realizing that the connection's actually better these days than instead of a landline that goes across the ocean.
I think hello is just code. Like maybe different variations of how they say hello. Because mom's like, hello. And then she goes, hello. So maybe it's like, hey, meet me here. And the other hello is like, great, bring the shit.
Makes sense, man, And then they get to argue on who's making the Dolma more so than anything.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, Dolma, bro. I had someone else back in Detroit, bro. It was nothing like food from your mom's hands,
That's for sure, man. Okay, I do have to ask, how did all the Chaldeans end up in Detroit? Like, was there just one uncle that sat there and said, I'm tired of this desert shit. I want a white Christmas. And that's the end of it? And that's how, like, you all ended up over there?
That is one theory for sure. Definitely white Christmas is a driving factor. But I would say a lot of it was the automotive industry. It was really popping, and then the economy was big. And I feel like some Chaldeans that went over there basically were like, I want to bring my family here. Then they brought their family, and then they brought their family, and then they brought their family. So it I feel like it did. I don't know who the first families were, but I'm imagining that it was definitely like, because that's how my mom was. When my mom left Iraq, uh, she came to America, and then her mom and dad and brothers and sisters were still in Iraq, and then my mom wanted to bring them over. So my mom couldn't make a lot of money in Iraq, and a lot of the reasons why is because she mentioned that there was very little opportunities for women. So when she came to America, she got married. She started buying and selling cars. She started to work in different businesses, consult for different people, then made enough money, and then brought her family to America. So I just imagine that, like, once one family came, they were like, we got to bring the rest of the squad, which is very beautiful. It's very beautiful origin story. We just, no soldiers left behind mentality.
Yeah. Happens with most families. That happened with our community. We have a lot of Assyrians in Turlock, and all the older generation keep telling us how much it reminds them of the village in Iran. And I was like, if the village was like this, I would have left too.
Right.
Because just that heat in the summer and that humidity, I'm like, man, if I want this, I at least let me go to Disney World in Florida at this point.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't bring the vineyard with me and start it up over here.
Right. Yeah, they had hella options. I'm like, yeah, man, San Diego is also a big option. A lot of very big Assyrian population in San Diego, a lot in Chicago. There's definitely some hot spots. Arizona.
Tarzan. Yeah, but they all picked the deserts. Like, I love when everybody's like, we went to San Diego. It's not like La Jolla, San Diego. It's like El Cajon, San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
no one goes to the nice areas.
Right. Well, now they do. Now they own most of that shit.
Yeah. But like in the beginning, they're like, I went to San Diego. So you're thinking like La Jolla, you're thinking like Gaslamp District, you're thinking like Little Italy area, the fun parts. And then you end up El Cajon, and it's like, dude, you just went back home. Like, you didn't leave the village.
Right.
Yeah.
El Cajon is lit, man. I love El Cajon.
I've been there a few times. I can't complain about it. But again, it's desert. Like, I don't want to live in the desert.
Yeah, man, we need some water.
Yeah. All that fun stuff. Like, it's called Bet Nahrain, in Greek, Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers. Like, we need water.
Right. Not the land between two deserts.
Exactly. You never know with anybody else these days, man. But Paul, like, who are your inspirations as comedians? Because like, our people are funny, but like, we're mean funny to each other. So like, there weren't any like real Middle Eastern stand-up comics when we were growing up. There's like Carlin and Pryor that everyone adores, but there had to have been somebody else along the way.
I never really got into Carlin or Richard Pryor when I was first interested in comedy. And I never really watched a whole lot of Middle Eastern comedians. I never looked at a Middle Eastern comedian because I didn't really want to be a comedian until like later in life. But when I was a kid, I had Comic View as a channel on my TV. It was so interesting. Like, I had the basic cable channels, like I had Fox, CNN, ABC, and then I randomly was able to get BET. And then I would just watch Comic View. And that is what made me so interested in comedy. Like, I would watch Bruce, Earthquake, D. Ray Davis, Bill Burr when he was doing Comic View. And I was like, man, this guy's just murdering. I was really interested in that style. Like, I would say that's what really got me into comedy. Like, my inspirations were definitely Bruce, definitely a big one. Earthquake for sure. Arnaz J was fantastic. I was just really interested in this physical comedy. It was like such simple premises. Like someone would be like, "Hey man, you ever notice how the dude that be blinking too much does this?" And then it's just this demonstration, and I would just be like, "This is comedy. Simple setup. Here's this hilarious act out. Here's the next part of it." And I would just watch it for hours. I was watching so much Comic View. I loved it, but even then, I didn't know if I wanted to be a comedian.
And then just one day you decide to get up on open mic and make your mom miserable?
Hilarious. I was working on a TV show at the time in Detroit, and the show was called Detroit 187. I was a stand-in for one of the main actors on the show. His name's Michael Imperioli. He plays Christopher in the show The Sopranos. So he was in Detroit shooting a TV show, and then a casting director contacted me and was like, "Hey, you're the same size and shape as this dude. Do you want to be a stand-in?" I dropped out of college. Well, I originally took a semester off to work on the show, and then one of the other actors on the show is a comedian named Sean Majumder, who's a Canadian comic, and he was doing this big benefit show in Detroit. And then over months, over the time, like we just became friends and really got to know each other. And then he told me he was doing the show, and I was like, "Dude, I'm a comedian. I'd love to do the show." And he was like, "Cool, I'll give you 7 minutes." And I've never done comedy in my life. I just had this skewed sense of how comedy and entertainment works. It's like, oh, you show up, you're willing, you're brave, you get hired. And I did the show. It was in front of 2,000 people. It was one of the biggest shows I've ever done. Like for years, like I never performed in front of a bigger crowd than that crowd. And yeah, it was bad. It was pretty bad, buddy.
But if you're going to bomb in front of 2,500 people, there's nowhere to go but up.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it does take courage, especially 2,500 people. That's a lot of people, man.
Yeah, I was really nervous. I remember they didn't have a bathroom in the ballroom. It was at this casino in Detroit called MGM. And I would just constantly go back into the kitchen and just pee in the drain. And I was just going back and forth like 20 times. Like every step I took, I'm like, I gotta pee. Like when I get nervous, I'm just constantly urinating.
Let that be a lesson to you not to drink that much tea before a show.
I know, man. I drank that much tea, and then I almost pissed my pants.
Yeah. As a comic, you are a quote unquote ethnic comic, and some of the situations that fall is like we always make fun of our family, but every immigrant person makes fun of their family. How do you avoid the stereotype of that ethnic comic that only makes fun of his family or only makes fun of the immigrant situations? Like, how does that's obviously, when you start off, it's stuff that but how does your comedy evolve beyond that?
Well, I think I look at it less of making fun and more so commenting. And I think that's really the big move, because like you make fun of something, it just feels it doesn't feel like it has as much substance as making a comment and pointing something out. So I just framed my approach. And then once I was able to do that, then I was able to actually like say something sophisticated and hilarious.
Which works because you're performing this weekend at the Hollywood Improv. And then again, I believe May 3rd with Aziz Ansari, correct?
No, the show on the 3rd, that is my own show. It's called Loki Comedy Show with Dave Merhej. Him and I are hosting it with we got amazing lineup of comedians. We got the co-creator of Loki Comedy Show, Matt Rife. He was on Wild 'N Out. And touring comedian, tour with him, Ian Edwards. We got some fantastic comedians on that show, so I'm really excited about that show at the Peppermint on May 3rd.
Dude, congratulations, man! I'm happy for you, and you're hosting the show and everything.
Yeah, man. Do you live in LA? Where do you stay?
I'm in Orange County.
Oh, buddy, you should come to the show, man.
That's my birthday. I'm already booked up.
Oh, fuck, bro.
I'll come to the next one, man.
Change your birthday.
Oh yeah, of course. All these years later, I'll plan on something else. I had a friend that actually planned his wedding on my birthday and got mad that I didn't go to the wedding. I was like, you didn't put a return, like the return, how many people are coming with me or whatever, that little extra card in the invitation. Like, what am I going to do? Just call and let you know I'm coming, or just show up? Like, I'm not that fobby.
Yeah, hilarious. That is how Chaldeans are. Like, Chaldeans would just show up to the wedding. They're like, "Did you RSVP?" They're like, "What?"
You sent me the invite.
Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't go, and then he got mad at me.
That's hilarious. Well, I hope you guys are still friends.
I haven't talked to him in a while, man, but I'm happy for him.
That's probably why. But
exactly, because I didn't show up to the wedding, without the RSVP.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
So many grudges over a wedding. It's so crazy. Like at my barber, he still talks about how someone left him $25 in an envelope.
Wow. Okay.
He still talks about that. And he goes, "It was a blank envelope." And he goes, "That coward."
And he put $25 and that was it?
Yeah.
The chicken dinner is like 85.
Yeah, he's still trying to find out who did it. He asked me, he goes, "Do you know?" Like he tried to test the DNA of the saliva on the envelope.
You know, it's his fault for inviting 500 people to the wedding.
Yeah, bro. That's why you should have invited small wedding, and then you have a camera where the envelope is and see exactly who does what.
Just a little GoPro facing the money box.
Yeah, bro. Then you know exactly who's doing shit.
Yeah. You know,
And then you find out, you're like, holy shit, it's my mom.
She's the one that left you $25.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wait, you have a Chaldean barber?
Yeah, man. His name is Saad. Barely speaks English.
Dude, those are the best.
When I go to Detroit.
So wait,
he doesn't talk a lot.
You wait to go to Detroit just to get a haircut?
Nah, but every time I'm in Detroit, like even if I already got a haircut, I'll just go see him anyway, just to get cleaned up, just have an excuse to go over there.
That's loyalty.
Yeah, man, this guy's been cutting my hair since I was in high school.
Nice, man. So you just keep you literally keep it in the village.
Keep it in the village, player.
Yeah. So your folks are still in Detroit?
Yeah, they're still in Detroit. Mom, dad. My brother was in California doing his residency. He now lives in Michigan with his wife and 2 kids. So the whole family's out in Detroit.
Nice, man. I've never been to Detroit, so I can't say, you know, if it's a great area or not, but you grew up there. So fill me in on what it's like growing up in Detroit in a Middle Eastern community over there.
Well, my upbringing was a little bit different. I grew up in a dangerous neighborhood, man. Like actually, I shouldn't say as dangerous. It was just very like low income. And then that just leads to people being desperate, you know, and like it was like I talk about how desperate it was because like I remember when I was in 7th grade, one of our friends got stabbed, and it was like big news in the neighborhood. Someone's like, "Yo, bro, you hear about Marcus? He got stabbed for his shoes." And I'm like, "Oh shit, what was he wearing? Jordans?" They're like, "Nah, dude, Skechers." And I was like, "Motherfuckers are getting stabbed for shoes you can get at TJ Maxx."
Wow.
That's how wild it was. And I'm like, that's also a waste of a stab. Like, if you're gonna stab someone, dude, you got to make it more purposeful. Like, and then I was like, dude, I bet you that dude went to his house to ask for his knife back. Like, he's like, hey man, you could take these bullshit ass shoes, but you know, growing up, I mean, it was mostly a minority neighborhood. It was just black, Chaldean, and maybe like one white family, and they were the landlord. So yeah, I mean, it definitely was also a lot of fun. Like, we were so funny. Like, I mean, we didn't have a lot of money. Everyone was broke. And yeah, there were a lot of fights and disagreements, and it was very like rough and like very much like a lot of testosterone running around. But man, we had so much fun, bro. We would just laugh. We would like literally people would come to my house, and then we would chill on my back porch, and then we would just like roast each other, do impressions of people. It was just like so much fun, you know. And like I wasn't as tapped into my community. Like, my mom didn't teach me to speak Sudeth. My mom really just wanted me to just get a degree and learn English as well as I can so I could be somebody. You know, that was like their main focus. They didn't want us to struggle. And in terms of learning the language and the culture, that wasn't as important as go to school, be smart, do dope shit, run your own business. That was the focus. So culture wasn't as instilled as I wanted it to be. And then I started to like really tap into my culture later on in life. One day I was just like, yo, who am I? What is this? Why do I even say I'm Chaldean? And then like upon further investigation, you learn like, oh, Chaldean is a religion. Chaldean is a religious sect of the Assyrian people. And then it's crazy when you tell Chaldeans, hey, you're Assyrian. They're like, nah. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But again, it plays to the ignorance of how uneducated, or not uneducated, I'd say misinformed our people are. And that's something that I wanted to definitely change. And, you know, I love my people, and, you know, I'm very grateful for my upbringing, you know, and like, I feel like now that I have a more sophisticated understanding and just more knowledge of who I am, it's just helped me become even more authentic, you know, especially on stage.
Right. And for people that don't know, the Chaldean sect of the Assyrian community are under the Pope. They're Eastern Catholics. Yeah. Just so people get a history and theological lesson out of this.
Yeah, you know, I also tell people, I'm like, you know, Sudeth is actually the language that Jesus spoke. Jesus spoke Aramaic. So, he hears our prayers. I don't know about y'all, but y'all might need to get Duolingo for the Lord.
He hears our prayers because we can't whisper in church.
Yeah, that's for it's hilarious. We can't whisper in church, but when it comes to singing, everyone shuts up.
Yeah, that's true.
No one wants to sing the hymns.
Yeah. No, it's
That's like,
very true, man.
yeah. So I get Assyrians to be quiet. Just tell them to turn to a psalm to sing, and they'll be like, "Nah."
Yeah. Well, it's all the girls in the choir anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's hilarious. Like my dad's just like, no one's singing. They're just looking at the words.
Mm-hmm. The funniest thing is, so like I mentioned that town Turlock in the Central Valley. So I have family over there, and my cousin's church. He got married in June or July, and there you might as well be, in hell at that point. And for some reason, all the vents for the air conditioner are at the altar.
Mm-hmm.
So the priest got cold and turned off the air conditioning while everybody else had to suffer through the 2-hour wedding.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So makes sense that your family went to Detroit, because even if he turns off the air conditioner, at least, you enjoyed the December breeze.
Hell yeah, bro. I mean, that's why my parents went. They went, we basically were like, hey, the AC and heating in this church is dope. Let's just move here.
Pretty much, man. I can see that happening.
Yeah, man. I think they should make a Yelp for churches.
Right. There's just one uncle that sat there, and he's an air conditioning specialist, and he's the one that did all the churches in Detroit.
Oh yeah, bro. He's definitely the AC plug.
Yeah. Paul, when did you realize that you were funny? Like when your brothers would finally get mad at you after roasting them too hard?
Hilarious, man. I was always silly. I mean, when I really started to tap into my humor when I moved to Michigan. And like I mentioned, like in the community that I grew up in, it was mostly like it was Black, Middle Eastern, and a lot of testosterone. I got into a lot of fights, and people would bully me. And in order to get out of bullying, I would just make them laugh, and that was basically my karate. Like people would like beat me up, and then they'd be like, "Oh man, this guy has actually a funny impression of that dude James." And they're like, "Hey, do an impression of James." And I'd do an impression of this dude named James, and then everyone would just laugh. They're like, "Oh, this dude's cool." So I was like, "Yo, man, when I'm funny, people stop fighting me, and they become my friends." So I was like, I should just see how else I can do this. So I just understood impressions. I would look at people, and I know how to like emulate them, and I was just a good mimic. And whenever I would see my mom, if my mom was tired or my mom was in a bad mood, I knew that to make her happy, I would do impressions of customers that would come to her store, and that would make her happy. Like I'd be like, "Mom, who's this?" And I'd do an impression. She goes, "Oh, that's John that comes to the store." So I didn't really think much of it. I was just like, "Oh, it's very easy to me. It's easy to be hilarious, and I could be funny." And I enjoyed it. I loved being funny. I like really loved it. And then like whenever my mom would take me to a wedding or a family function, I was always looking for ways to be funny, which would bother her. My mom would get really irritated. Even before we'd walk into a wedding, my mom would give me a speech. She'd be like, "Paul, brace it, Baba. If you try to act funny, I will beat the shit out of you." And then in my mind, I'd be like, that would be so hilarious if that happened. So I would just think less of the consequences. And no matter what, I would just be like, yeah, man, I just want to be funny.
And did you ever get beat at the wedding or in church?
Yeah, my mom would definitely, she'd scold me. I don't think she ever hit me for being funny, but she definitely like scold me. But the thing is also like I would murder, like I would kill. Like as a kid, I was like Richard Pryor, bro. I'm just killing, man. I'm just murdering, just doing all these impressions. I was basically like Robin Williams, just at different functions. I'd be like, and just making noises and sounds. And she couldn't deny that it was funny. Like I'd see her, she goes, "That is funny," but she didn't like it because she felt that people were laughing at me. Which in a lot of ways it is. They're laughing at what you're saying and what you're doing, but it wasn't that framing of they're laughing at someone saying, "Look how whack this person is. It's so funny." It's like the humor is different, but that was just her skewed sense of comedy because she never had any friends that were hilarious. She had a very serious upbringing, very rough upbringing. So she didn't really go to comedy as a way to heal. She went to church and family and love, and which are all beautiful things. But me, to heal, I always went to comedy.
Right. Because for people that don't know, the Middle East is rather intense at times.
At times, sure.
Yeah. Not always. Usually it's a simmer. It doesn't always hit the boil.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I know what it's like, immigrant family, immigrant parents, and everything else. Church is always a refuge in that regard. What was it like for her the first time she saw you perform?
She's never seen me perform live.
Does she ever want to or no?
I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy. Like we just sold out a theater in Detroit, and I was like, "Mom, are you gonna come?" And she didn't really feel comfortable going. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that she was working at a store for so long, for 20 years. She was opening and closing her own business. The only days she took off were funerals and a few selected holidays. But other than that, my mom would work at the store and open the store probably 350 of the 365 days of the year. Very, like, she put so much energy into the store. And even though it's been around 5 years since she sold the store, she's still trying to get acclimated to society, and it's just taking a long time. If things are very safe at the house, so she feels very safe there. She's like, I have my TV, I have my remote, I could chill. And then to go do something is not something that she tries to seek, So being out in front of people, like she's never seen a comedy show. She doesn't really like live entertainment, which we're trying to get her to do more of, So inshallah, she does more of this.
Well, it'd be fun, man. It'd be great if she comes see you perform at some point.
Yeah, she will at some point. She's like, yeah, when you shoot your special. And I was like, man, I might have to just shoot a special just so my mom can come.
Right. And shoot it in Detroit.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah. Is that the goal, to shoot a special in Detroit or in San Diego, or like what's the ideal place to shoot a special for you?
There's a lot of great cities. I mean, definitely at some point I will for sure shoot a comedy special in my hometown. I mean, it's just very poetic and seems to make the most sense. So I'd love to do that at some point. Planning on shooting a special sometime in September, October, and I'm going to shoot that one in LA.
Nice. Let me know, man. I'll come out to that one.
Love to have you, man. I'll definitely keep you posted.
It'll be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen your work. You're funny. So if you weren't funny, I wouldn't be talking to you.
Hilarious, man. Bro, that's very sweet, man. Thank you, bro.
We're an honest people, unless we're trying to sell you something.
Right, exactly. And then, by the way, you're getting scammed. Like, if you ever do business with an Assyrian person, the more they say "my friend," the worse deal.
Oh yeah. Well, like I went to Israel for Easter a couple of years ago, and there was this Arab guy, and we weren't sure if he was Arab or if he was Israeli, because depending on what religion the clientele was, his name changed.
Hilarious.
So like if it was a Jewish client, he was Aaron. If he was a Muslim guy, it was Ahmed. And then for some reason, everybody is Johnny if they're Christian.
Right. And then someone meets him and he goes, "Wait, your name is Sang Kim?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah."
Yeah. Or George.
Yeah, or George, or Malcolm X.
Yeah. Since the first time you performed was in front of 2,000 plus people and you bombed, when you finally got your bearings, what was the first joke that hit that gave you that, for a lack of a better term, runner high?
The first joke, it was very honest, actually. I was like, I have 3 brothers. One's a doctor, one's a lawyer, the other's a mortgage banker, and I'm here with all of you. That was like the first joke I wrote, and then that was my best joke. It was honest. It was like and I feel like I started leaning more towards what was giving me pain, which was the feeling like an outsider. So I feel like I was able to articulate that. And that was like, aside from some other jokes like you mentioned, like there's like easy jokes that we pull from that might seem hacky or easy, which a lot of people use when they first start. I mean, some people, they never let go of those. They just constantly live in this like world of just like different versions of the same joke. I'm hairy. Family, I love to eat. Arabs are do business like this. you know, like these like hacky tropes, and people just find 10,000 different versions of it. But I started to like find what was unique about me. So that was definitely the first attempt at it. And then, you know, from there, I just kept eliminating all the things that could be considered hacky or done. And I just started talking about myself more.
The feeling like an outsider thing, is that based on being a minority within a minority, living in a society that doesn't fully accept you because you're not fully Chaldean, because you're not raised in Iraq, you're not fully American because you're first generation? Like, is it that finding your footing of what world you really belong in when you don't belong to either one of them?
Not really, because everyone just assumed I was white. So I never really felt that disconnect. I always felt pretty accepted and welcomed. Like, you know, like I never felt that per se. But I mean, a lot of the feeling of not knowing where I belong, I think a lot of it was just attributed to where I was in the eyes of my family, because I really wanted their acceptance. I really wanted them to be proud of me. Like that was something that was very important. And then once I was able to let go of that, I was able to really tap into art, because I was doing it for the right reasons. I wasn't doing it to be like, hey, look at me. It was really like, this is what I want to talk about. And even now, you know, like I'm really leaning into that and trying to shed those layers as much as I can in every way, you know, and it's a new layer, and it's like family approval. Then it's like entertainment approval, uh, approval of fans, approval of what's hot on the internet. Like fuck all that. Fuck all that, man. Like I'm just really trying to just and say the truth and be as honest as I can, and allow that to be interpreted and allow that to be what people judge on, you know. And regardless of whatever they like and dislike, it's like cool.
And so what makes you laugh then?
Man, a bunch of stuff. The news is hilarious. Yo, memes are hilarious. Man, memes are funnier than comedy.
Sometimes.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've tried to I find humor in the smallest and in the most obvious ways, you know, like I just always try to look for what's funny about something, you know.
Yeah. Does it ever get you in trouble? Like with me, like someone will tell me something and like what they're trying to tell me is the main focus. The side story is actually more interesting. So I end up hyper focusing on that and get in trouble with people because I'm not paying attention to the main story that they want to tell me. So like what gets you in trouble with something like that?
I don't think I get in trouble at all. Like, I don't think it's like trouble per se. Like, what? Are you like wanted by the police now because you laughed
No,
at?
no. Yeah, I'm the Middle Eastern guy that looks white. I just get randomly stopped at the airport.
Still?
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I always get stopped at the airport. Like I don't know what's and like and then the best part is like, oh, you're Middle Eastern? Yeah. And your name is Robert. Yeah. When did you convert to Christianity? I was like, I don't know. Let's see. St. Thomas went to Iran and Iraq in like 33. So, you know,
Wow,
the first
still,
millennia.
man. What airport is this?
Yeah. What's it called? LAX, not so much, but like I think Long Beach, no, Long Beach didn't stop me that much. Houston did, and I think Orange County does, but that's Orange County. Burbank,
Oh shit.
yeah, you
Yeah,
know,
bro. LAX, I'm very much accepted, and
yeah.
I'm also TSA pre-check. So,
Well, the problem with LAX is that you got to get there 3 days ahead of time before you can leave.
right.
Yeah. Didn't they just open up a new terminal or something like that, or like
Oh, bro,
revamped one before they get the next one started?
man, the Delta terminal is fire, bro. I sometimes I just go there just to chill,
Yeah. Get your $19 coffee and everything else.
bro. I don't even got a flight. I'm just there. I'm just there to hang out, man. I'm just hanging out with the baggage claim people.
Well, you know, they're the most fun, actually.
You think so?
No, I'm just full of shit at this point.
Very
Yeah. What is comedy like in San Diego versus LA versus Detroit?
similar, actually. It's very similar. I mean, there is some tightness in the West Coast of certain subjects, and I think, like, I was just in Virginia, and like they were so open about everything, you know, and it was interesting, like what they found funny, like in certain regard, but it's pretty much universal everywhere, man. Like if it's funny and honest, like people give it up. Like people aren't like holding in laughs, especially now after COVID. It's like people are out. Some people for the first time, they're like really experiencing not having to wear a mask at all for the entire day. There's always some version. It's like, oh, you have to wear a mask in the Uber. You have to wear a mask in the grocery store. Or if you have to wear it in the restaurant and then sit down and then take it off. Like now at comedy clubs, people are just full face, bro. And they're like, I'm trying to laugh. I'm trying to have a good ass time. So comedy's not really the sensitivities are very minimal, man.
You know, is it a relief now that we can go back to the comedy club? Because I remember I was talking to Jamie Kennedy and Adam Hunter, and they were doing Zoom shows very early on. And I'm like, how annoying is that? Because like you want to hear the crowd interaction, but their mics are hot too. Like at some point, like it has to be you're trying to tell a joke, and then somebody goes, hey, you're going to the kitchen. Can you get me some more Cheetos?
Hilarious.
Yeah. Like how do you find the balance in a Zoom show like that? You're like, tell joke, unmute audience, you know? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't that much of a struggle for me, and it was just like I just knew what it was. You just take it as what it is, and like, and people would laugh. Like like once you get the hang of it, once I did like 2 Zoom shows, I started to like. I was like, okay, cool, I get this. And like I wrote a bunch of Zoom jokes about Zoom, and then those all worked. Also, like I can like walk out over here and then I can walk out over here. So I was like figuring out like entrances and exits. Like I perform on my feet. I had a microphone. I would hold it. Like I would perform like I'm performing in front of a crowd, and it worked for me. Like I was able to like figure it out, which was great.
Did you set up like your own brick wall, like a virtual backdrop?
Yeah, I actually had this brick wall. I had a wall like this, and I do comedy behind that wall. And then I had like a stand. I had all this other stuff. For the people listening, I just showed a brick wall to RC.
Who would have thought that like a remodel at the Improv in New York with an exposed brick wall would become the foundation of comedy, like the foundational backdrop?
Yeah, that brick. You mean the Comedy Cellar?
Well, no, the one the Improv in New York, the original Improv. Like I found out that the reason why like the brick wall is like the main thing is because it was an exposed wall when they did a remodel, and that somehow became like the standard for all comedy clubs.
Yeah, brick became very popular. I mean, a lot of other clubs are like trying different things. Like I just did this club in Virginia. They just had a TV screen in the background, and like definitely brick walls are very popular.
Makes it easier, I guess.
It also creates, it's interesting. It also creates like a feel of like, hey man, this is like real and raw.
Yeah, like back alley comedy.
Back alley comedy, man, or at least that vibe or that feel, It's like here's something badass.
At shows, a lot of comics will listen to each other, in between sets and pick up on stuff. Some people will go out for breakfast or whatever because the show the midnight show ends at like 4 a.m, depending where you are. Do you guys end up like, for the comics that you are friends with, how do you turn off the comedy after a show versus just riffing and cracking jokes and being yourselves versus performing?
Well, that's the thing is like we're always ourselves. Like it doesn't feel like performing anymore. Like when we're out and we're having a good time, we're all being ourselves. Like no one is like putting on an act. Even when I'm on stage, I'm not putting on an act. Like I'm just being myself. And it's like, yeah, there's rehearsed jokes that I'm saying, and there's a certain timing that I would use, but the essence of it is all just very honest. So like, and you can tell when someone's like faking it or someone's putting on some type of act. You know what I mean? And like the audience can tell too. Like there's very little real estate to hide. So after shows, I mean, we're all just having a good time. Like we're all also hilarious. We're all funny people, and we'll all just like riff and just laugh at shit. It's just great, man. I love hanging out with comedians, man. I love that's why most of my friends are comics.
And there's no there's no taboo topics at that point because you guys either something comes from nothing in what you're creating in the conversation, or you're just open to discuss anything.
It's only taboo if it's not funny.
Makes sense.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Being unfunny is very taboo. Being unfunny is racist, actually.
Oh, is that racist at this point?
Yeah, bro, it's racist, man.
Okay. So what is the unfunniest thing that people have accused you of?
Accuse me of?
Yeah, why not?
Accuse me of? I don't think anyone's really accused me of anything in a minute. I think like sometimes these corny things, like after a show, like I did a show for like all the like a bunch of Persians, and this guy came out to me. He goes, "Yeah, I saw your show, and I saw, you did this thing about talking about your girlfriend. Is she love you?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about, bro? You asked me if my girlfriend loves me?" And he's like trying, and he thinks that's hilarious. Like it's so interesting, like when you do these Middle Eastern shows, and then afterwards, like the people they always try to like give you jokes. Like my uncle was like, "Paul, that like an ammu would be like, that was great show. Maybe you could talk about how the government is a piece of shit." And then I'm like, quiet, and he goes, "Use that for your next comedy." And I'm like, "Yeah, nice." I'm just gonna go on stage and be like, "Hey, you ever notice how the government's a piece of shit?" And then that's what kills.
That should
Paul's
be
debut album, "The Government Sucks." And that's how I get on Kimmel.
that should just be a whole bit of like jokes submitted post show, and it's just all these Middle Eastern suggestions that go nowhere.
Oh my god, bro! Some of these jokes are fucking wild, man. Like my dad is like, "Paul, you should do a joke about how the little people they can't reach very high." And I'm like, "What kind of joke is this?"
You're like, Dad, that's like half the community.
Exactly. My dad's like, "By the way, can you grab the cereal?"
We talked about your mom, but what about your dad's perspective on this? He was like, I didn't come to America for you to tell a joke.
Yeah, I mean, my dad never really understood it, but like, yeah, again, and then once his friends were like, "Hey, your son's on TV," and then I come home like, "Hey, dad, like, you know, making a living," and it just sort of became a non-issue. And I think after that, then we started to really like evolve our relationship.
I think that's the one thing people don't realize. Like I joke around about this, like immigrant parents sitting there, like, we have 5 fields: sciences, mathematics, law, business is tolerable, and then the rest of us are the shame of the family. But really, it's just that they want us to be able to pay our bills and not struggle.
Yeah, there's a lot of effort into, and I think a lot of it is just based off fear, man. It's such a fear-based motivation. It's like, you have to do this, otherwise you're not going to have money. Then you're going to be homeless. Then you're going to be struggling. Then you're going to be working at a gas station for the rest of your life. Then you're not going to get married. And then it's such a like this catastrophizing that I think has made a lot of people do shit that they don't want to do. It's so crazy when I go back home and I talk to friends of mine that are doctors, engineers, or in some of these prestigious fields, and these motherfuckers are like, "Bro, I am not happy, man." Which is on them, and it's like, bro, it was your fault. Like but again, it's very intoxicating and it's very shameful. Like I think a lot of people's aspirations are based off fear. They're like, I want to make I want to just tell me what to do. My parents told me what to do. I did that. I'm doing it now. Now I don't like it. Now I resent my family. And it's like, I just never wanted to be that way. Like my brothers all love what they do. They all love what they do. And I mean, I've had conversations with people who don't love what they do. And, I'm very fortunate, man. Like, I definitely feel like there's a version where none of this would have been possible. Like, I would have just been a lawyer, worked with my brother, and I probably would have found a way to be very happy. But I feel like I'm really accessing my full potential, which is, I'm like such a gift to God.
Yeah.
Gift
For
from
the
God,
people
rather.
that you talk to that weren't happy with what they did, like I talked about my friends who went to MIT or are medical doctors and now are in the arts in comparison. What about the people that didn't follow their dreams but are doing the status quo positions that they were pushed into? Like, did anyone ever have like something that was like uncharacteristic of them from what you knew of? Like, say Peter's a lawyer, right? And Peter was always pushed into law, and then we find out, Peter wanted to be a baker or something like that.
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of my friends, like at least the articulation of, they never really articulate like this is what I wanted to do. Like I had some friends that were talented, like, and some were like great athletes, and they wanted to be a professional athlete, but they weren't really groomed to have enough, to like, or their parents weren't like putting their focus on let's give them the best uh athletic experience, put them in AAU and summer training and all that stuff as some of my American friends. Like my American friends, their dad or their mom is at like all the games, watching the game, looking at game tape, getting them trainers, getting them like workout coaches or whatever. And it's like less money. It's just more so like just encouragement. And I never really had a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I definitely played sports, and my parents were like, and I was good at them. But I feel like a lot of my friends, like I have a buddy of mine, he's a dentist, and he's actually a decent filmmaker. Like and me and him are actually writing a project together. Like he basically sold his dental practice, and he has a lot of money now, and he's like, bro, I have all this money, and now I'm like, I want to do what I really want to do. I want to make something. And he was like, I want to make a web series. Here's the show idea. This is what I want to do. And I'm like, bro, you're my brother. I'm at your service. So helping him with that and working with him rather. So I feel like at some point everyone has an opportunity to like really do what they want to do. But it's like, yeah, bro, it's fucking scary. You're gonna struggle. And some people just don't want to struggle. It's like, yeah, you don't wanna not know where your next meal is gonna come from. Like you don't want to know what it's like to go from show to show to show to show and like lose money and miss out on love and all this other shit that I've experienced in a lot of ways, you know? And
But that
it all
sacrifice makes the victory even sweeter.
exactly, man. Exactly, bro. Like
Mhm.
I was thinking about how when I was in Detroit, there was a girl I was seeing, and I could have married her. I was like, she's so dope. But then I chose to move to LA. And then when things weren't going my way, I would audition, not get these parts. I'd have to work 2 or 3 other jobs to pay for my living expenses, and then living with multiple roommates, not knowing where to live at certain points too. I was living in my friend's living room for 3 months, and it was like 6 people in this house, and I was sleeping on a mattress that it was. Well, I didn't find this out until the day I moved out. He goes, "Oh, by the way, that mattress, I found it in a dumpster." And I'm like, "Buddy, you could have said that earlier, and I would have just bought a mattress. Like I could have got a mattress with less dumpster on it."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You
It's
didn't have to worry about that smell the whole time, thinking it was like the neighbor's apartment.
yeah, I thought it was me, and I'm like, shit, I need a shower. But yeah, bro, I mean, then you struggle, and people just don't want to do that. People don't want to struggle, but it's like pressure makes diamonds.
Well, that's the right way to look at things, man. No, you're right. People don't want to struggle. People don't want to, push themselves beyond certain limitations. Um, you have the shows this coming weekend. You're constantly working, which I'm thrilled for you for, because a lot of people will want to do like one show a week, or something like that. And like I had a friend, what was that show? Sex in the City. They're like, I just want to be able to write one article a month and have this shoe collection. I was like, dude, that's called the TV show, and that's not a reality. What is like the one thing that you saw yourself overcome that you're most thrilled about?
I think as far as overcoming, I feel like I'm just very comfortable with who I am, who I really am, and talking about that. So that was a big fear of feeling exposed. And now all I want to do is expose who I really am.
Yeah. And like, was there a moment of like revelation of realizing how vulnerable you were willing to be on stage?
Yeah, I don't know the exact moment, but I think there was like a run where I just stopped doing material, and then I just like sat on a stool and just started to just try to talk and try to just tell talk about how I'm feeling. And I mean, a lot of it was bad. Like, oh yeah, this was in New York. This is in New York. I did a run of I had like 30 shows booked in 9 days, and I was just bombing at every show. And I was just trying my best to just be authentic and be real and only do jokes that were true. And it was hard. And I feel like that's when I started to figure it out. it was during that period of time. I think that was in like 2017 or 2018.
And now here you are back in LA and you're enjoying life.
God is good, bro. You know, I say that every opportunity I can.
Well, that's the important thing. And the girl that you would have married would have never fixed your teeth, so you upgraded.
Exactly, bro. I would have to fix her teeth.
Yeah, see, I got this crown. I need a crown. You know, takes you in the back room, a couple of shots of Novocaine, you're good to go. Like, you don't even have to leave the house to go to the dentist.
Yeah, bro. Shit. Man, I'm about to get gold teeth tomorrow.
Make it platinum in a couple of years.
Shit.
Diamond encrusted.
Yeah, bro. You already know. You already know what time it is, player.
Oh, of course. You know, it was like, because, you know, you spend all that money on dental work, you might as well just ruin your teeth with the jewelry.
Hey, man, you said ruin. I say improve.
We'll call it enhance.
Yeah, bro. Caviar tastes great with diamonds in your mouth.
Doesn't have that metallic flavor or anything.
Nah, man. I mean, from what I've heard.
Oh, okay. Well, you do know enough rappers, so that might tell you something.
Oh yeah, bro. I'm very tapped into the rap community, man.
Yeah. Did you ever, since comedy was your thing and it wasn't your first passion, what was the first passion?
I think I really wanted to be a criminal. To be honest with you. Like I really like being bad when I was a kid. Like I just was like so into doing bad things. Like I would like love fighting. I like was really into that community. I was really in the criminal community.
Okay. Listen, we have legitimate MMA fighters out here, man. We could like get you a place to train. We'll put you with Benny Dariush.
Oh man, bro. I only fight people that are in arson or petty theft.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, I joke, give our mom 20 minutes to figure out how we're related to each other. I said that to Benny first time I talked to him, because I found out he's from the same village my dad's from.
Wait, who's Benny?
Benny Dariush.
Okay.
UFC contender, lightweight contender. And I joked with him with that. And then I talked to his mom and she's like, Samu. She's like, Juno Falunka. I was like, yeah, that's my dad's uncle. That was my school teacher in Iran. I was like, well, we didn't need 20 minutes.
Hell yeah, close enough.
Yeah, exactly. There's probably some cousin that got married to somebody else, along the way.
Right, exactly. Yeah, bro. And what was that class?
What's that?
What was that class that she taught?
Oh, I don't know. It was my dad's uncle was a school teacher, and she was one of his students in Iran.
Hilarious. She taught Ancestry.com class.
Dude, Ancestry.com would be shut down if we put in all our relatives in there.
Yeah, I know. I think it'll basically they'll send us to like 23andMe or something.
Seriously, although some of those trees don't fork, so we're scared about that. Yeah. With your parents being immigrants and you being American in the sense of at least being born here, how have you reconciled with that? Because you weren't a big part of the community, but you've come to terms with realizing who you were, at least historically. Like there has to be some moment in time where you realize, 6,500 years ago, my ancestors did without living in the past, because too many of our people live in the past, and that drives me crazy.
Right.
Like, what does it mean? Like, we created the written language, we created the art. Well, we didn't create the arts, but, we influenced the arts, we influenced sciences and astronomy and everything else. To sit there and realize that that's your ancestral foundation leading you to where you are 6,500 years later.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful. Like I'm definitely want to know as much as I can about my background, and knowing these things is just a blessing. Like I'm very trying to tap into even more into the Assyrian culture. Like instead of telling people, oh, I'm Iraqi, it's like, my parents, that's their nationality, to because it's obviously a function of their citizenship, but ethnically they're Assyrian. So I definitely want to try to talk about this as much as I can and put this on blast to like in every news article and publication I can.
Well, are you in North Hollywood or Tarzana? Because that's where everybody else is.
Shit, I'm in Echo Park, player.
Okay. Well, at least you're not that far away.
No, I'm not far away. Yeah, I'm just 134 East for 10 minutes.
No,
there.
First of all, don't lie to the people that are going to be in Detroit watching this going 10 minutes. No. It's like 15 miles, which is a good 45 minutes.
Yeah, well, I only leave at 4 a.m.
Makes sense. Post show.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, we finished at the Laugh Factory. All right, we're going up to the. We're gonna go get some shawarma.
Exactly. In a Tarzana parking lot somewhere.
You know what? That's probably the best shawarma you're gonna have too.
Oh, bro, the best shawarmas are only served at 3 a.m.
Yeah. Same with falafel.
Exactly.
Yeah. Unless you go to one of those places where they like try to make it a burrito version or like whatever. I was like, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, yeah, hilarious. Like, yeah, they're like, hey, we have some a lettuce wrap shawarma, and I'm like, sir.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, although I did go to one Greek festival where they made what's it called? Baklava ice cream sundaes.
Oh,
And
I'd
I
love
thought that was
that.
blasphemous. But it
Oh,
was actually
nah.
delicious, which pissed me off even more.
Hell yeah, I'd love to try that. Let me know where I can get that.
Let's see. I'll find out where it was and I'll let you know.
Hell yeah.
So Paul, with everything going your way at this point, you know, God willing it continues to. We don't want to jinx you, knock on wood. You know, what is like, you know, it's time to retire. You know, your hair's falling out. No, I'm teasing. But you know, it's time to retire. You want to tell your grandkids who Paul Elia was. What do you say?
God damn.
Hopefully you're more eloquent than that.
What a hilarious like scenario. It's like you're about to die. What would I tell my grandkids?
Actually, I said retire. I didn't say die.
Retire.
We're
I
not
don't
trying
know,
to
bro.
kill you.
Bro, you said I lost my hair, man. That's death. So, man, you know what, bro? I'm sure this answer will constantly change. Yeah, if people want to know, I'm saying your grandfather is a Chaldean-Assyrian. That's how I want to be remembered as.
I dig it, Paul. I dig it. You know, where can we find you on social media and so we can get tickets for this week's shows?
Man, they're on Instagram. Click my link tree, get your tickets. I think we have like maybe 20 left. So tickets are definitely moving. And that is going to be May 3rd, Peppermint Club in Los Angeles, 9:45 show.
I love it, man. Congratulations on all your success. I'm thrilled I got to talk to you, and I can't wait to see you live, you know, at least in the next couple of months.
Inshallah, man. Just hit me up. Let me know when, man. I'd love to have you.
You got it. Thanks so much, Paul.
All right, bro. I'll see you.